eternal war hero. And he gives me a...
Knight of the Seven Kingdoms video.
I'm the hand of the second most beautiful...
Knight of the Seven Kingdoms video. Knight of the Seven Kingdoms video.
Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is back with episode 3, and I love this show so much. Again, very slow pace in terms of plot. Last episode teased us with a sense Dunk was about to joust, only now we learn, alongside him, that we must wait another episode for that. I understand why that might be frustrating for some. It doesn't feel like we're currently halfway through the series at this point. I feel like we need more than 6 episodes. However, the end of this episode certainly flips everything on its head, plus there is so much character work going on. There is so much beneath this quiet, stumbling exterior that just makes watching these two eat a sandwich such a delight, and actually so refreshing. I mean, 10 years ago this stuff would have been seen as your solid, staple character progression in a show. But now, for example, coming off the back of watching Stranger Things Season 5, where character is suffocated beneath an avalanche of plots and twists and things to grab your attention, getting a story paced like this is so very refreshing. Every time the whistling comes in, I mean, I could watch endless montages of these two doing something set to whistling in the background. And that stuff is why this show is so immersive. Despite very short runtimes, I feel absorbed in this world. I feel absorbed in these characters. It's special. And I think once this season ends and people will have seen a bit more jousting and fighting, all those criticisms about slowness will fade away and you'll start to realise how important the character progression happening now really is. But anyway, episode 3 is special for a very clear, very strong reason that I want to talk about now, after you've seen the coolest train this side of the Seven Kingdoms. Alright. Actually, can we mention Sir Arlen to begin with? Because I ended my last video saying, comment your thoughts, good or bad. Although I've got a feeling half the comments are just going to be about Sir Arlen's penis, aren't they? I was joking when I said that. I did not expect it to be true. I'm used to my comment sections being full of insightful discussion and analysis, not inundated with Sir Arlen related penis puns. First we're told there are no more dragons. Then we find out Sir Arlen is hiding one in his breeches. Sir Arlen the pipe fit, Sir Arlen the home wrecker, Sir Arlen of Pennytree, thick as the castle tower. I don't remember anything apart from being attacked by the Alaskan bullworm in the first 10 seconds. I think Sir Arlen's schlongstucker would indicate Dunk like that. How did this man ride a horse? Sir Arlen penis tree. Sir Arlen the blessed. Sir Arlen hung to his knees. Sir Arlen had a lance. Sir Arlen's home of Pennytree. I want the behind the scenes on the effect. Sir Arlen's penis is not the 7,000 did they will never forget to know the legend of Sir Arlen. What is wrong with you all? There are so many comments like this. I even made a pie chart. There was that many, okay? 32% is a really high amount, especially when you factor in I reply to a lot of the other comments, the ordinary comments, so just my replies alone are adding to this other 68%. This is a lot of comments I wasn't prepared for. You know, I'm a psychotherapist. They always said it was Freud who was obsessed with penises and phallic symbols, that he was weird for relating all psychology back to that. But when I see the public at large this obsessed with Sir Arlen, I wonder if he had a point. Maybe Freud was the normal one. I mean, I'm joking, obviously, but it is also genuinely surprising and kind of interesting how fascinated and hilarious the finds it to infuse about a fictional man with a big penis. So I just thought I'd begin this video by scolding you all and trusting there will be absolutely no comments this time around about Alice and her 3 fingers. Anyway, the 2 things that immediately caught my attention this episode was first, the Master of Games Plumber, I think he's called, setting out this proposition that would effectively solve a lot of Dunk's problems, or at least help significantly. If you challenge Sir Andro, he will let you win. You will be given his armour and horse as a reward, you will be a knight who won a joust at a tourney, and if we slyly bet on you to win that match, it will solve all our own money problems. And, okay, I don't know how obviously Andro would throw this fight, if he did so subtly enough, and if the Ashfords would want to keep the truth of it quiet. Maybe match fixing is frowned on in Westeros, I don't know. But if that was the case, and Dunk would win some level of respect for winning it, it probably would be a very sensible thing for Dunk to agree to, and probably sensible regardless. He can fight
other jousts if need be, or attend other tourneys, but having some winnings under his belt he can sell on would solve a lot of the issues as to what comes next in his life. As I predicted in episode 1, it wouldn't take long until people started trying to use Dunk to their own advantage, and I have been proven correct, but in many ways, for Dunk, turning down this offer would be a foolish thing to do, especially if he then goes in and loses his first joust. Again, we've never seen him joust, we've never even seen him train. They're deliberately showing us none of that to enhance our fear that he might do terribly. And then we get to the end of the episode, where he pulls Aegon off of Tanzel, punches him in the face, loosens one of his teeth. The second thing that really caught my attention was Aegon's reaction to this. It's not rage, he's not screaming and feeling humiliated and doing all the kind of over-the-top stuff villains often do in these kind of moments. Instead, he remains perfectly calm, at least on the surface, perfectly in control of the situation, and he asks with both shock and, I think, genuine interest, why the hell would you do that?
Why did you throw your life away for this whole? She's scarcely worth it.
Like, this is a genuinely baffling, totally foolish thing to do. And I really like that they highlight this point rather than give the moment to some classic villain rage, because, you know, maybe Aegon is even correct. Maybe forfeiting your life by attacking a prince when he breaks the fingers of a puppeteer is a foolish thing to do. Maybe it's the stupidest, most suicidal thing you could possibly do, and Dunk is a giant lumbering fool twice over. First for, I think, rejecting Plummer's offer. I don't think that's concrete yet, but it seems like he's definitely going to. And secondly for this. But this is exactly what I discussed last episode when I pointed to Tanzel's performance of Florian and John Keel. This classic tale of a knight who was also a fool. And I used the line twice in that episode. All men are knights and all men are fools. The point being that on one level, the honourable, the knightly, the chivalrous thing to do is also the foolish thing. To aspire to ideals and principles greater than the surrounding reality is a thing of dream and fancy and stupidity. And yet, that is also its power. Last episode we had Dunk very clearly compared to Florian, the puppet of Florian even looking like Dunk, and now we're seeing that story deliver on that comparison. Which is a great metaphor, it's a great point, but it's one we can go even further with in this video. There's a lot further I want to take this, and we're going to start by discussing Egg more directly for a second.
You steal that. Tell the truth. We'll be fair.
It's not stealing if you
Have 51% off.
World Anvil! Yep, they are sponsoring this video. World Anvil is an online tool for game masters, for writers, for tabletop RPG players and world builders. An online tool for designing worlds, creating characters, chronicling history, planning and managing campaigns from a plethora of different games. My best friend uses it for our D&D campaign, I use it for planning my novel. Far better and easier than the scraps of random A4 paper stuffed into a drawer that used to constitute my creative process. Not only can I keep everything in one place where I can easily edit anything I want to, but I can create timelines, hyperlinks branching off to specific characters or articles, family trees, a billion other things. You can even link them all to maps, like here's this basic map I made years ago. If I click on the character Tess, it sends me straight to her page where everything is redacted, and that's like the most basic thing you can do with your maps. There's other creators whose world building looks so much nicer than mine. There's a whole community network on World Anvil if that's your thing. There's so many different cool features for everything you may possibly need. In general, there's been lots of great updates recently, making the interface even simpler and smoother than it already was. World Anvil is great. I am genuinely passionate, I hope you can hear that, and if you desire, if you crave, if you call to the heavens for a 51% discount, then use the code TREE, or click the link in the description or the pinned comment, and if you just want to try out the free version, then go for it. There's no time limit, test it out for as long as you want. World Anvil. Dunk, I am fairly sure, was never knighted by Sir Arlen, and it creates the nice contrast where one man who isn't technically a knight is also the most knightly and chivalrous of all. He has been playing at a knight, but in play, in games, in acting, we often discover a role that fits us far better than the one we were assigned by social reality, and in much the same way, Egg has often been playing. First playing a knight on Dunk's horse, then playing the Blackfire Rebellion, and now playing the Squire in an incredibly sweet scene that makes me smile like mad. And there are two things to say here. The first is, again, how playing at something need not be falsity or deception. This isn't just playing, it is training here. Egg is imagining Dunk there in the heat of the joust, because that's exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. Egg needs to be prepared for this. He's playing at something, but he's also aspiring to it. He's emulating it. He's rehearsing for that situation, in many ways integrating it into his own sense of identity. I mean, maybe I would say that because I'm a children's therapist, but again, any kind of explorative play like this technically is, has so many benefits for a child's development, even in weird old Westeros. And the second point, this idea also applies to Egg's greatest act, his greatest play, which is to pretend to be lowborn when he is, in fact, a Targaryen. I love the very Verdi disarray music that comes in after that reveal, by the way. It's not the most surprising twist. I mean, we have seen a lot of hints to this along the way. I mean, okay, I wasn't going to be surprised because whilst I haven't read The Hedge Knight, as I've said before, and I'm deliberately waiting until the end of the season before I read it in order that I can judge this season on its own merit, despite that, I have read A Song of Ice and Fire and do know vaguely of Dunk and Egg. I know Egg is a Targaryen and I know what happens at Summerhall. That's kind of all I know. Please don't spoil any more for me. So maybe it's just that this wasn't going to shock me either way. But yeah, I don't think this is a shocking twist, and I don't think it should be. Some twists should be shocking and unexpected, but also some should be an anticipated reveal. You've been in suspense, hoping for so much that it's then satisfying when you finally get there. That's what this kind of twist is, and it's great in my opinion, because what both of these characters do in this moment, Dunk choosing to fight Aegon, Egg choosing to reveal himself in order to save Dunk, both are great climactic events in their own character arcs. That's what makes this twist so impactful. But on one level, this act will feel like a deception. Egg has lied to Dunk about who he is. Dunk will likely feel betrayed, maybe humiliated, maybe foolish for all the ways he was going on talking to Egg like he's lowborn, threatening to give him a clout round the ear, when all the time this kid has been royalty. I think Dunk will feel very hurt by this, will feel like Egg has played him false and taken him for an idiot, but again, must playing be a falsity? Must it be some foolish, unreal dream? As an aside, by the way, dreams and songs, and especially the story of Florian and John Keel, is a topic I discussed at length in a 2-hour in-depth psychological analysis of Sansa Stark once upon a time. I have made a whole lot of psychoanalytic videos about A Song of Ice and Fire characters. I have an entire playlist you can check out on that if you're interested, and I'm saying that because I'm releasing a video all about Theon Greyjoy later this week. I wanted to mention it now because I don't trust the algorithm to entirely promote it, but yeah, that's there if you're interested. Otherwise, the reasons Egg came to Squire for Dunk are, I think, pretty obvious in retrospect. He was bored sitting around in an inn whilst what must surely be the other son here, Daeron, who we've been told constantly drinks. This must surely be him, and Egg must surely have gotten bored with sitting around here when he wants to see a tourney, and Dunk provided a means. That's my guess what happened. But more importantly, Egg wanted an escape from being a Targaryen. And whilst it is technically false to pretend he isn't one, the fact he would want to try that at all, the reason he wants to try it, the motive behind it, reveals so much more of Egg than we'd ever have known if he hadn't been playing this part. Does that make sense? Egg doesn't want to be like his family, this quite abrasive, cold father that Egg suggests he doesn't really even know, and then this incredibly cruel and petty brother Aegon. I don't know about the rest of his family, but Egg wants an escape from that because deep down he doesn't want to be like them. And in that sense, playing the part here is not just an escape. It's very sweet how Egg genuinely wants to learn to stitch, even though he'll likely never need that as a skill. And whilst it is something a squire would do, yes, it's not essential for helping Dunk succeed. Dunk is able to do it himself anyway. Egg might have easily had no interest in this at all, but he wants to learn. He wants to work and discover the genuine achievement that comes from working hard at something menial and getting to feel proud of your accomplishment. I love seeing him smile as he gets thunder to run. I loved how enthused he is when Dunk calls him a good worker.
You're a good worker when you put your mind to it.
I think so.
Let's not forget, before he even came to this tourney, he was already pretending to be a stable boy. Being good at this stuff matters to him. Genuinely earning his place as Dunk's squire on merit matters to him because escaping his bloodline isn't just about the fun of trying something different, isn't just about physically getting away from the people he doesn't like. It's about Egg sincerely wanting to understand different ways of life and understand different people rather than treat them all like tools and political pawns. As he says,
I think a horse doesn't want to be ordered about. any more than a man does.
Through this play, Egg gets to explore and develop another part of his identity, his empathy, his humility, his work ethic, perhaps even traits such as loyalty towards Dunk, or a healthy amount of enthusiasm to please and earn his approval, getting to experience a positive father figure, or else an older brother. These aspects and many more are things Egg will get to experience here, and whilst he is, in many ways, terrible at pretending to be lowborn, even Dunk picks up on some of it. There is, nonetheless, a lot about this attempt that is very truthful and very encouraging for who Egg is as a person under the surface. We are not, after all, defined by our social standing, and it is a shame when the world, as it does to Dunk, treats us as though we are. At the end of the episode, Aegon asks Egg what he did with his hair, who says,
I cut it off, brother. I didn't want to look like you.
The perfect metaphor. Yep, this video wasn't just about the knight and the fool being a perfect metaphor, it's also this. The very thing Egg did to hide who he was, removing his hair so people didn't recognise him, so he could pretend to be someone else, could obscure his identity, is, at the same time, the very thing that reveals most about who he is deep down and who he wants to be. He may not want to be lowborn in reality, he may not even want to be a farmer with livestock to tend to, or a squire who marries the second most beautiful daughter, but still certainly someone in personality, unlike his family. Egg shaving his head is not just a phase, mum. It is a symbol of his inner self. Alright, let's go a little bit further before we end this video. I love seeing Dunk again slowly questioning the goodness of knights and royalty. He was so naive about the Highborn in episode 1, and here he is slowly forced to wonder if Aegon did attack the horse deliberately, which is a great mid-beat this episode, by the way, because structurally, Aegon here sets up exactly why Egg doesn't want to be like him and chooses to then actively stand up to his brother, which shows great bravery, by the way, not just generally standing up to your older, scarier brother, but also the consequences that may come about this reveal for Egg. And it also highlights why Dunk will later defy him, because obviously Dunk is a good person and Aegon is cruel. I mean, even before Tanzel is involved, this is great setup, and we then have Raymond make the case that the Targaryens are incestuous aliens and horrible conquerors and all of this, which is true. I mean, mostly true, I suppose, but you're not supposed to say it. You're supposed to look up to the Targaryens, supposed to see them as superior, greater, almost like gods for their control of dragons that are, of course, long absent by this point. Last episode, Dunk was falling over himself, apologising to Baelor, where this episode he punches a Targaryen in the face, but the point being, that's the lie we're supposed to believe, right? That the Targaryens are more than human, they are greater, when in reality you could just punch one of them in the face if you wanted to. You could do much more. The Targaryens can be cheaters and they can be pathetically petty. Aegon is really petty in attacking the puppeteer for doing a performance where a dragon is killed. Can you imagine a ruler ever being this petty in reality, this insecure? Could you just imagine that being the case? They are not gods. They will, in fact, one day be deposed. However, the belief in this lie gives them power, or enhances their power anyway. That's what's so great about the idea of this play where a dragon is killed and how Aegon cannot abide that kind of story. That's not how the story is supposed to go in his mind. That's not the propaganda, I suppose we could call it. The dragon must not be questioned. And by contrast, there's the other side of this too. That knightly chivalry is a lie. None of them show much of it at all. Honour is ridiculous. Why should Dunk feel bound to do the honourable thing, fight an opponent fairly, when he can easily win reward fighting in a rigged bout? You know, dreamy, flimsy ideals of honour restrict us then. And the second you question the reality of honour is the second it starts to fall apart. It's kind of paper thin in a lot of ways. You can start to go, well, loads of knights cheat at jousting, why shouldn't I? Which of course then reinforces more cheating to happen, because if it is seen as a common thing people can get away with, then they will try it more and more, and, you know, loads of knights treat the small folk like tools, or do this, or do that, and things that their principles aren't supposed to abide. They get away with it. And if you can get away with so much, much, it is foolish to believe in the lie of knightly principles. Abiding to them is nothing but dreamy play acting. But again, whilst Dunk might be questioning the honour of others, I don't think he ever stops believing in the importance of those principles, because it is a lie worth believing in, when it's a lie that can make the world a better place and can make people better. As flawed and regularly undermined as honour and chivalry are, it still means there are things a person cannot do. Culturally, they will get away with a lot of bad things, but not all of it is permitted. Not all of it is without consequence. Aegon might cheat in the joust, but his horse is given away to Sir Humphrey as a result. I would assume this means he is disqualified. In A Song of Ice and Fire, we've known for hundreds and hundreds of years, people do not go against the sacred law of guest right. If someone has food and drink beneath a host's roof, guest right means they cannot harm each other for the duration of the guest's stay. That's a principle you can easily question. You can easily go, well, why not? You can easily just harm your guest anyway, as does happen at the Red Wedding. And the only thing stopping the entire principle falling apart is people's outrage in response to that. A delayed, yet nonetheless, I think, outrage we are seeing starting to build towards the end of the books. The ideals of chivalry in Westeros then in many ways prevent the Overton window from being moved too far. A lie it may be, yet it gives good people something more to aspire to, a greater part to act out so that they can then integrate into their identity, and it gives bad people a restraint on some of their worst behaviour. It is a lie that nonetheless defines a lot of culture and a lot of society in important ways. So I would say that this episode, and I feel like a lot of that is being set up here in order to explore it more in later episodes. I have no idea what is actually going to happen at this joust. I don't know who Dunk is going to face, if he can possibly win. I've got no idea, but I feel like more of this is going to be explored. And I will also say, because I can't help babbling on when I feel passionate, that I love Egg's musings on the song about Alice, and also the fact she, as he puts it, gave more than she was asked with a determined, dogged spirit, despite the fact she's not even remembered properly for it. Her true name goes completely forgotten. In the same vein, I think of Plummer confusing Dunk's elm tree for an alder tree. I wonder if he too will one day be misremembered for having an alder tree on his shield, or if not that, some kind of similar misunderstanding that undermines the renown he wins, the glory, that in a way tells us that's not what it should be about. Glory for glory's sake is not true glory. Earning glory through virtuous and good deeds without expectation of being remembered correctly or afforded any glory at all, that is the point. Also, I wanted to end this video asking, why do you think Egg warns Dunk Tanzal is being attacked? Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious why he does, but I mean, do you think he knows Dunk will intervene like this? Does he know it might get Dunk in a position where he's about to be killed and Egg might be forced to reveal his identity? Is he thinking that far ahead here? Or is he just seeing a woman in trouble that Dunk cares about and he wants to warn him as a result? Or even just seeing someone in trouble in general, whether Dunk knows her or not? Would Egg have done the same if this was a random person Dunk didn't know? Would he have run to him and said, someone is in trouble, will you help? It's an interesting thought. But in general, comment your thoughts below, good or bad, about the video, about the episode. If you're leaving a spoiler, please leave a spoiler tag in the comments. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe, maybe even support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee, or check out my videos breaking down the psychology of A Song of Ice and Fire characters. I will be releasing one all about Theon Greyjoy later this week, and otherwise, hopefully see you next time. And as ever, a special thank you goes to Flying Spider, Luke Core, Michael Gallagher, Ben Marie, Thafy, Chad Bramwell, and Joshua C. Follier. Thank you.